Hi everybody, welcome to Tales of Two. My name is Miss Rachel and I am coming from Cedar Run today, so that's nice. Oh, here we go. Welcome to Tales of Two. My name is Miss Rachel and I am trying to get this glare off of the screen and it looks like that's not happening. Let's see. I can put my mask. No, that's not gonna work either. Alright, well, we'll just have to deal with a little glare. It is too nice a day for me to stay inside to do this. So I am going to broadcast outside and we are doing one of our other poisonous plants that we have at Cedar Run. So this one is also near and dear to my heart. I love this one. So I like the poisonous plants. What can I say? They're fun. So to get the housekeeping stuff out of the way, unfortunately, our nature center is still closed. We're still working on it. Our wildlife housing area is open. Our trails are still open. It is a beautiful day if you are sitting in the shade out here. If you're sitting in the sun, it's getting a little hot. So we're hoping it cools down a little bit. So come on by. The mountain laurel is in full bloom right now. There's a little bit hanging out over here. There are frogs in the pond. There are turtles in the pond. There were a couple geese hanging out still. So there's a lot going on right now. All right, on to poisonous plants. So the poisonous plant that I have for you today is one that by the name of it, you would think might be a good thing to eat, but maybe not, because half of the name is really tasty. The other half is no. You don't want to even think about it. Of course the camera is in that one spot. Okay, anyway. The poisonous plant that I have is this one. Does anybody recognize this lovely leaf? This lovely leaf likes to grow in very, very, very wet areas, almost to the bottom of stream beds. It is really kind of hard to get rid of once it's established. It grows with many of these leaves poking up out of one plant. Okay. And it's honestly, I love teaching about it, but I love teaching about it in person because the best way to experience this plant is to tear a little part of the leaf off and smell it. Once you smell it, you will know exactly why this plant is called skunk cabbage. This plant is called skunk cabbage. You cannot eat it, okay? But it is a really, really fun plant. It has a lot of really, really cool adaptations. So first of all, it does stink. Okay, it really, really does. If you see this in a stream bed, it's an experience to try and, take a little bit and give it a smell. It is totally an experience. I would recommend anybody try it at least once. But be prepared for a stink. Okay? Just be prepared. So it is called skunk cabbage because of the smell. Now the smell is not why it's poisonous. The smell is perfectly harmless. The rest of the plant is really fascinating. The rest of the plant, like the entire thing, from the leaves to the roots to the flowers to the fruit that it has, all of it has something in it called calcium oxalate. Okay? Now, calcium oxalate is not necessarily a poison, but it is a crystal. And calcium oxalate crystals are really super tiny, super, super tiny, and it's very, very easy for them to get into our mucous membrane. So when you eat this, all of those calcium oxalate crystals get into your skin. They get into your tongue. They get into the lining of your throat, and they get into the lining of your stomach, and they cause irritation, and they can cause it to swell, and they can cause it to give you a hard time breathing. It'll might cause vomiting, things like that. So this stuff is not for everyone. This is not a thing that you would want to eat, despite having the word cabbage in its name. Okay, so you don't want to eat skunk cabbage, though I will say I have actually seen some recipes for it. What you do is you would boil it a bunch of times, and you would break down those calcium oxalate crystals. And once they're broken down, it's marginally edible. I'm not going to use it in my tea. I'm not going to use it as a green, so I wouldn't try it. But I have, like I said, I have seen recipes, so maybe, but don't try it raw. Please don't. People have gone to the hospital with it. Not a fun thing. But despite being a poisonous plant, despite being a plant that we really can't deal with, that we can't use, a lot of other animals do use it. And it's really vital to a general ecosystem here in New Jersey and in the eastern half of the United States, because it's all over the place. Okay? This plant is very, very well adapted. It's actually one of the very, very first plants that flowers every single year. And I mean before the snow drops, before the glory of the snow, before all those little really pretty flowers, you're going to see this plant have its flower popping up, and it looks a little bit like a cup. Okay. It's going to have a little stick, a little piece pointing right out. So it has a spathe and a spadix. Okay. So when it does that, this plant actually starts flowering in like January, February, way, way, way early March. This plant likes it when it's snowy. The flower itself is actually exothermic. And what that means is that it will actually produce heat, which most plants cannot do and do not do, which is mind-blowing and fascinating. So this plant will make heat. It'll push up through the snow, and it'll actually keep continuing to create heat, because the smell that makes it smell so bad is what attracts the pollinators to it. Now, I'm sure you know what's going to be attracted to horrible smelly things. It's flies. The flies like the horrible smelly smell, right? And the flies are going to start coming to the flower. And because it's warm, it smells more, especially in the middle of winter when there's nothing else going on. Okay. They're going to come to that flower, go inside, find some pollen. They're looking for a place to lay their eggs, and that's not happening. So they're going to look for some pollen. They're going to get covered in it and then move to another flower. And then this plant is pollinated. Okay. So this plant is pollinated in like January and February. It's unreal. Okay. Now the rest of the plant doesn't start coming up until probably March or April. Okay. It does make these humongous leaves. Like if I put this up next to my head, this is about the size of my head. Like this thing is huge. So this plant is going to make these really, really huge leaves on this really cool thick stalk, this fleshy stalk. This is a perennial, but it comes back up every year. Okay, so it'll have a rootstock in under the ground. And that rootstock is also really cool, because every year that rootstock actually gets pulled deeper and deeper into the ground. And when it gets pulled deeper and deeper into the ground, it makes it harder for it to get pulled out, harder for it to get washed out in a big sudden storm. Because remember, these plants are in stream beds. They're in really, really wet areas that flood really frequently. Okay, so they need to be able to be anchored in really, really well. When they're anchored in, they're also supporting the rest of the stream bank. Okay, so this plant is like an anchor for the rest of the whole stream. Where you have skunk cabbage, you have a lot less erosion. Okay, you have a lot less pollution into the water, a lot less dirt falling into the water and muddying it up. And you have a lot more animals that can come down and drink to the stream, because the bank is, it's anchored in, it's weighted down, it's steady. Okay, so this plant, this one really cool poisonous plant, is the basis for a lot of other plants and animals. Okay, so because this plant can secure the entire ground, it provides a home for a lot of other plants and animals. I've seen trout lily underneath skunk cabbage. I have seen cut leaf toothwort underneath skunk cabbage, which are really beautiful flowers. And they probably wouldn't be there if the skunk cabbage were not there to support the bank. Okay. Also, these huge leaves make great homes for tiny frogs, lots of insects, lots of other tiny little critters. Newts and salamanders like to crawl underneath of these leaves, especially when they die down, they fall down. Okay. Now, there's not a whole lot of things that eat this because of that calcium oxalate. So if you have it, you're going to see it in these big, beautiful, bushy bushes, kind of. But things like deer are not going to eat it. Things like raccoon are not going to eat it. But they're still benefiting from it because they're supporting a whole other parts of the ecosystem. Okay, so this plant, this one lovely little skunk cabbage, even though it stinks and it's toxic to us, this is a really, really cool plant and a really, really important part of the ecosystem. So I love these guys. And their flower is actually really, really pretty too. It almost looks like a sculpture. It's kind of like a reddish brown. It looks like raw meat, which also attracts in the flies too. So they see it and they're like, oh, tasty. And no, sorry, not tasty. Okay. Their seeds they come, I want to say about June or so. I could be wrong about that. But they come later, and those seeds they actually have a little red fruit. It looks a little bit like a jack-in-the-pulpit fruit. Give me 1 second, I'm doing a live stream. Okay. So they do have a little fruit, and that fruit is, it floats. So if it does fall in the water, it will travel downstream, and it will get rooted into a whole new area. Okay. So this is a really cool plant. So if you guys have any questions, please let me know. And yeah, that's all I have for Tales of Two. Again, our trails are open, our wildlife housing area is open, and our wildlife hospital is open. Please give us a call if you have any animals that need attention. All right? Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your continued support. We really, really appreciate it. And I hope to see you guys soon. We're slowly opening up, so hopefully you guys can get out here soon. All right? Thanks. Bye.